Alrighty. So today I chose, as part of this Bibliomancy Divination series, Book Talk with Whitney. I'm choosing the Princeton Review Complete MCAT book from 2015. I know it's very, very old, but science is pretty stable, as far as the principles that are covered, I believe, on this exam. The MCAT is the entrance exam for medical school. Let's first figure out let me share my screen, what MCAT actually, I believe it's aptitude test, some type of aptitude test. All right, let's see. What does MCAT stand for? The Medical College Admission Test. It is a standardized multiple choice exam that prospective medical students in the United States and Canada must take as part of the admissions process for medical school. This test is no joke. It is really difficult. You can take the GRE without taking a bunch of courses. You can just pretty much study for that. Same thing with the LSAT. The two exams, the GRE gets you into general graduate programs. The LSAT gets you into law school, but the MCAT is a different type of beast. You generally need years of prerequisites in biology, chemistry, physics, math, lab work, in order to take the exam. So today I just wanted to go to page 337 and just talk about the concepts that are on that particular page. I think that this test, the best way to approach it is to take it a bite at a time. But also, again, those courses, those prerequisites are a must, a must. I don't have time to take them, so unfortunately, my medical school dreams died a long time ago, but I am still very interested in science. Again, yesterday we learned that education, the goal of education is to not only prepare us for public affairs, but to prepare us to be lifelong learners. And as lifelong learners, we can learn about things that don't necessarily impact our careers or, things that are not going to make us money, but things that generally just pique our interest. So with that said, I'm going to go to page 337. And with bibliomancy and divination, I always like to say if there are chapters, or sections in the book, the overarching chapter or section. In 337, the overarching section is the nervous and endocrine systems. And this is funny that I turned to this because these days on social media, everyone's talking about this is bad for my nervous system. This is good for my nervous system. So what exactly is the nervous system? And I'm asking Google Gemini again. Shout out to Google Gemini. I prefer Google Gemini over GPT times and times over. All right, the nervous system is your body's main command and communication center. Think of it as a massive, high-speed biological network that sends, receives, and processes electrical signals to control everything you do from breathing and blinking to thinking, feeling, and moving. It is divided into two primary parts, which you can see highlighted below: your central nervous system and your peripheral nervous system. All right, in the central nervous system, you have your brain and your spinal cord, and then all over here, at the bottom, you have your peripheral nervous system, which includes all of your nerves. And here is a picture of a neuron. And so let's ask the difference between nerve and neuron. All right, a neuron is a single microscopic cell, while a nerve is a large visible bundle of those cells. All right, so a neuron to a nerve is like a cell to an organism, basically. A neuron is an individual wire, and a nerve is a massive underground cable packed with thousands of those wires. Okay. So back up here to what the nervous system is. The central nervous system is the central processing unit or the computer for your body. It consists of the brain, the control center that processes information, stores memories, generates thoughts, and dictates actions. The spinal cord is the thick cable of nerve fibers running down your back that serves as the main highway, carrying signals back and forth between the brain and the rest of the body. Right? Of all the nerves that branch out from the spinal cord and spread throughout your entire body, including your organs, skin, and limbs, it acts like the cables connecting the computer or CPU to the external hardware. So this explains why if you have a injury, you can end up paralyzed because the spine has a lot to do with your nervous system. So the peripheral nervous system has two main jobs. The first one is taking in info, which is sensory, sending updates to the brain about what's happening outside, like feeling a hot stove, or inside, like a stomach ache. So in other words, feeling things. And the second job is executing orders, or the motor, carrying instructions from the brain down to your muscles so you can react or move. So the fight or flight. All right. The building blocks are the neurons. Again, the neurons are the building blocks for the nerves. At the microscopic level, everything is powered by specialized cells called neurons. They use rapid electrical impulses and chemical signals to pass messages to one another across tiny gaps, allowing your body to react to the world in a fraction of a millisecond. So let's look at how does electricity work in the body in 3 sentences. Body electricity is powered by the movement of charged particles called ions, like sodium and potassium, passing in and out of cell membranes. So remember, we have elements, and I believe an ion is a charged element. Let me just make sure. Is an ion a positively or negatively charged element? It can be both. It can be positive or negatively charged. When a normal atom gets an electrical charge, it becomes an ion. And there are differences between positively charged ions and negatively charged ions. We don't have to get into all of but it basically electrons. Um, The rapid movement creates temporary changes in electrical voltage, generating a tiny current called an action potential. These electrical impulses travel instantly down nerve fibers, allowing your brain to send commands that beat your heart, move your muscles, and process thoughts. Okay, so let's see what uh, we're on page 337, and 337 starts with the adrenal gland. That's basically what we'll talk about. What does the adrenal gland do for us? The adrenal glands are two small triangle-shaped organs that sit directly on top of your kidneys. Despite their tiny size, they act as major chemical factories, producing critical hormones that control your stress response, metabolism, blood pressure, and immune system. So first, let's see what is the function of the kidneys, or are the functions. If the adrenal glands are chemical factories, okay, the kidneys underneath them are your body's ultimate water treatment and recycling plants. All right. So basically, the kidneys are filters, right? They process about 150 quarts of blood every single day to filter out waste and keep your internal environment perfectly balanced. Their primary functions break down into three major areas: waste filtration and elimination, balancing electrolytes and fluid levels, and blood pressure and red blood cell regulation. So, what is kidney disease and how is it caused? And don't forget, we're going back to the adrenal glands that are above the kidneys. Um, Remember, the adrenal glands are the factories and the kidneys are the filters. So I think it's more, it'll do us better to learn more about um, the kidneys because uh, it's an everyday term. You know, we hear it more often than we hear the adrenal glands. So I'm all about conversations and being able to approach conversations with some knowledge on all types of topics. So, here's the elevator pitch for the kidneys. All right. So kidney disease occurs when your kidneys become damaged and lose their ability to properly filter waste, toxins, and excess fluid from your blood. Generally divided into two main types: acute kidney injury or chronic kidney disease. So main causes of kidney disease, high blood pressure. Wow, never knew that. Because high blood pressure puts constant intense pressure on the delicate clusters of blood vessels inside your kidneys. Diabetes, the excess sugar will act as a corrosive agent, damaging the kidney's microfilters. Inflammation and infections, triggered by autoimmune disorders like lupus, that attack healthy tissues, and also physical blockages. We've heard of kidney stones, we've heard of enlarged prostate glands, and also cancers that block the flow of urine out of the body. So let's look at, and then you have genetic conditions, and they say that the kidney disease is the silent disease because your kidneys are highly resilient and will work hard to compensate for early damage. So people will frequently lose up to 90% of their kidney function for experiencing any noticeable symptoms. And so here, this is the takeaway here, and I'll put this in the notes, that kidney disease is the silent disease. And also my goal is to help you all with this page